Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to another episode of the Push to Pass podcast. I am Derek Vance, as you see here on your screen. Michael Monroe, who has been joining us on every weekly every on a weekly basis, is joining me this evening as well. Josh had a prior obligation, so we're going to give him a extra week off before he gets back into the full swing of things. But yes, finally getting back into like I said, the full swing of things here as the NTT IndyCar season is going to hit its home stretch with just a handful of races left to go. And coming up this weekend from Madison, Illinois, just outside a stone's throw outside of the Arch in St. Louis, Missouri. Again, it's the Metro East area of Madison, Illinois, is where you will find the Worldwide Technology Raceway. All sorts of racing venues there at Worldwide Technology Raceway. But the NTT IndyCar Series is going to kick things back off Saturday night, this coming Saturday, for the Bommarito Automotive Group 500, presented by Valvoline. And what a way to get the IndyCar season kicked back off, but with a oval racing. I know we all love it. We all talk about it here a lot. So let's get into this here a little bit. But before we do, like I said, getting back from a 2-week hiatus, Michael is back with us again as well. Michael, I know we were talking a little bit off air as to what we did in this 2-week stretch, but nothing really exciting here on my end. Anything over there in your neck of the woods that is exciting?
No, not really. Just did some yard work. Rolled up the pool. Pool's done for the season here. It gets too cold at night, and I don't have a heater, so the pool's at like 75, 80 degrees. Too cold for me. I need a hot tub basically to be getting in. So we did that. Got the pool put up, and just ready to get some racing back on for the IndyCar series.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, it is. We're getting IndyCar kicked back off here. Like so, we did have that 2-week hiatus for the Olympics, and huge congratulations, obviously, goes out to all of the accomplishments that Team USA did. I know overall medals, they blew the rest of the countries away. I know in golds, I believe they tied with China. I think 41 or 42, something of that nature. But yeah, huge congratulations goes out to Team USA. But like Michael said, though, it is back to racing, and as I mentioned there, the Bommarito Automotive Group 500 from Worldwide Technology Raceway is where the NTT IndyCar Series is going to be getting back to there. Like you said, just Michael, just a handful of races left. I think 6. To be exact, we're going to finish up early September in Nashville. Not in the streets of Nashville like we have the past couple of years, but at the Nashville Speedway. I know there's been some testing done there that we can talk about here within the next hour or so. A lot of news that we have to go through as well. We thought it'd be maybe a quiet 2-week period, but think again, folks. A lot of news to cover as well. But before we get to that, like I said, the Bommarito Automotive Group 500 from the Worldwide Technology Raceway. Let's give everybody a little bit of a taste or a share of what we're going to see here this weekend. If you are unfamiliar with that, right here it is. You see the track map there. See if I can make this just a little bit bigger. Might be the best that I can do for now. But yes, we're going to go 260 laps or 500 kilometers for those that are in the kilometer interest. Worldwide Technology Raceway, like I said, located just outside of St. Louis, Missouri, in the Metro East city of Madison, Illinois. It is an intriguing 1.25 mile oval, favored by many of the drivers who race there due to its unique shape and varying degrees of banking in each corner. Turns 1 and 2 have characteristics similar to the New Hampshire Motor Speedway that I'm sure Michael can talk about there with the NASCAR background. While turns 3 and 4 are similar to the Phoenix Raceway, which Michael can touch on there as well. Again, like I said, we're going to go 260 laps, 500 kilometers. Practice is going to go here as follows. Let me get down to the practice portion of this weekend's race, and then like I said, we'll get into this just a little more. Maybe Michael can break down the track a little more, like the comparison being made to what you see there in NASCAR. Race schedule right there. We're going to get things kicked off this coming Friday at 12:45. That's going to be first practice, the only practice that the NTT IndyCar Series is going to have this weekend. And then Friday around 4:20, 4:30ish, we're going to have qualifying. And then 7:45, they're going to try that highline practice, kind of familiar with what was attempted at Iowa just a few weeks ago. And then final practice is going to be at 8:30 at night. And I've talked about this numerous occasions, and I know Michael has as well, but we absolutely love seeing these Indy cars under the lights. I wish there'd be more night races. Hopefully that's something that can be coming down the pipe here in the future. But definitely love seeing those night races, especially on a Saturday night. It brings back, Michael, I think some of those racers in the early age of those dirt tracks on the weekends, where they would have those dirt track races on the weekends under the lights, 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. I know I hear dirt track races around for me, and it's I think up till midnight. That's when I hear those engines still firing. So definitely love to see the night racing. And then Saturday is when the race is going to kick off there. The Bommarito Automotive Group 500 at 6:15. I do believe, if memory serves me correctly, I think this race is going to be broadcasted. Is it USA? If I remember correctly, yes, it is going to be USA and Peacock. Qualifying and practice is going to be on Peacock. Don't forget, you can hear it on the IndyCar Radio Network as well. Mark James and the gang going to be there covering it. Peacock's going to be there for the majority of Friday, Saturday, but the race on Saturday night is going to be on USA. I know that's DirecTV. That's 242. And then Peacock as well. And then again, don't forget the great crew over at the Indy Racing or IndyCar Radio Network there as well. Michael, anything that you want to add here right off the bat before we get into some of the past winners or active past winners of this race?
So you kind of referenced the Phoenix and New Hampshire, both flat tracks. I'm guessing from memory going there to Gateway. I'm guessing it's the old Phoenix, and those tracks they're flat. I know turn 2 is going to be tricky, especially on the start of that race. It normally seems that there's some contact there on those opening laps, so we'll have to watch for that going forward. The track is pretty good. When I went, it was a pretty exciting race, so hopefully we can get that high line moving in with that high line practice.
Yeah, definitely can't wait to see what comes from that there, as you said, as you alluded to, because I know I tried that in Iowa, and it just for Michael, for whatever reason, it just seemed like it didn't work. They couldn't get that high line set up at Iowa, so hopefully we're able to turn things around here. Fortunes be a little different this weekend in St. Louis there. For sure. Let's take a look at some of the previous winners that we've had of this race. Let me scroll down to the previous winners. Here we go. Obviously, Scott Dixon last year. Joseph Newgarden has dominated this race the last 2 years, 2022, 2021. Scott Dixon, again, there, as you see, in the race in 2020. Joseph Newgarden again in 2022. Keep going. Willpower 2018. Joseph Newgarden 2017. So definitely, Michael, Joseph Newgarden knows his way around. I know we talked about this being, in his wheelhouse there. As we hit this home stretch of the NTT IndyCar season, we didn't know how much Newgarden would struggle at non-ovals, but we knew what his track record was at ovals. Obviously, he's a back-to-back winner of the Indianapolis 500, and you see what he does in Texas when in prior seasons, and obviously what he does at Iowa there as well. So Joseph Newgarden, definitely somebody I think to keep your eye on when we talk the Worldwide Technology Raceway, and I would imagine later on in the show when Mike stops by to talk betting, that Joseph Newgarden is definitely going to be one of the names that he mentions to keep an eye on this weekend.
For sure, Newgarden will be one to watch. Power is always pretty good there. The one that is intriguing to me, and I'm sure Mike will touch on as well, is Pato Award. This weekend is a big weekend for Pato to help really close in that points gap for Palou. He doesn't have a great average finish there. I was seen on X earlier today. Someone had put out the previous average finishes of the top championship contenders, and Pato was around 2 and Palou was in the 10s. So this could be a good weekend to kind of build on catching Palou if anyone can.
Well, it's interesting that you bring up historical statistics there of one Pato Award. Let's go take a look. Let's go over to racing reference .info now for people that are unfamiliar with this, Michael. That you want to talk about a website that has everything statistic wise when it comes to racing. Definitely when I write an article, now I don't know if you use it as much, but when I'm doing articles there for the website, and I'm looking for statistics, I am definitely heading over to racing, going over to racing.reference.info. Now I'm going to go about Gateway. So I'm going to pull up the last few seasons of races that Pato Award has participated in, and we'll look. Maybe we can do a quick average finish for him. 2023 Pato Award. As I go down here, he actually started third, finished second. So obviously a podium finish there for him. Let's go pull up 2022 for Pato Award. And again, you got to give him credit again. Started seventh, finished fourth. So, the last 2 years, definitely not too shabby there for Mr. 2021. As we let that pull up, Pato Award started fifth, finished second. So again, another podium finish there for Pato in this race. And then there was two Gateway races in 2020. Let's see how Pato did there. Again, started second, finished third and won, and started fourth and finished second in the other. So I think you're starting to see a trend. See how Pato did there as long as I click on the right thing here. There we go. Let's go to race 8, race 9. Let's take a look at that for I guess that was the same one. So yeah, you're absolutely right there. The stats do back it up. That Pato Award definitely has a knows his way around Gateway, and obviously, a few podiums here, and a few top fives and top threes. So definitely, I think your point is well taken there. That Pato Award, obviously, somebody to watch. He does have what 2 wins this season? Yeah, 2 wins. One that was awarded to him in St. Petersburg. Obviously, everybody knows the story behind that. And then at Mid Ohio there, where he passed fellow competitor Alex Palou and didn't look back to pick up his second win of the season. So, Pato Award has a little bit of momentum, I think, coming into Gateway, and like you mentioned there earlier, Michael, with his track record here in the handful of races that he has done so far on this oval, and we know what kind of racer Pato Award is on an oval. Definitely, I think, as someone to contend with when the race kicks off on Saturday.
Yes, I actually found the tweet while you were going through those stats. Alex Palou's average finish at Gateway 12.6, Will Power 10.1, Scott Dixon 8.2, Colton Herta 9, and Pato Award 2.6. That's from Tony Donahue on X. So those are good fighting chances for Pato coming into this weekend. So yeah, I feel like he's going to definitely have something to prove. There's a few other drivers that kind of hit on my radar as well that normally do pretty well on the ovals.
Yeah, and speaking of somebody that may do well on the ovals, he has actually been cleared to come back to the NTT IndyCar Series. I know this is a little bit in the news section, but it does have to do with the race on Saturday. But as we see here, Alexander Rossi, who's obviously days are limited there with Arrow McLaren. There we go. He was able to be cleared to race this weekend here. Just go through this here a little bit. That Alexander. This is Michael. This is Marshall Pruitt of Racer. If you don't follow him, definitely someone to check out. But Alexander Rossi will return to his number 7 Arrow McLaren Chevrolet for the rest of the season after being cleared by IndyCar Medical on Wednesday. And this article rather was written August 8th, so just a few days ago. The clearance comes after the NTT IndyCar Series veteran broke his right thumb in a crash during practice on July 19th in Toronto for the street race there in Toronto, which you remember that same week, Michael, if you remember correctly, that was the spat between Arrow McLaren and Theo Pourchaire. But funny how things kind of worked out, because they had to get Theo Pourchaire on the first flight from France to Toronto to run in that car. So glad to see Alexander Rossi be able to return this weekend, because obviously he needs to get as much seat time as possible because obviously he is a pending free agent, and with the limited number of rides for next year, as we just seen someone else get locked up full term or long term today, and we'll talk about that here as we close out the show. But where do you see? I know obviously Alexander Rossi, like I said, his time is limited with Arrow McLaren. Obviously that has been well known here before the break. But where do you see Alexander Rossi going after the season's end here?
So a little bit of foreshadow. I see him either at Meyer Shank or Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan. I think those are the two best options for him currently. It's a little bit foreshadowing for later on in the episode. Rossi, I'm shocked, to be honest with you. He must have a big buyout in his contract, because I'm shocked Arrow McLaren didn't try and find someone to fill his seat for the rest of the year, the way they ping pong drivers around over there. So really shocked that they didn't, and reading more into the Theo Porcher situation, it sounds like that was a lot of speculation. I don't think he was ever displeased with Arrow McLaren or anything like that. Just kind of a situation where things kind of Arrow McLaren, I guess.
Yeah, I listened and watched the video that David Land did, and I looked into the article a little bit, and I think you're absolutely right. I think some of the things were taken out of context a little bit. I do agree with what David had to say there. That going forward, I think from this point forward with interviews, I think it's very important that whoever the interviewee or the interviewer is, instead of putting stuff on, doing it the old-fashioned way, I guess, writing down notes, jotting down notes, quotes, things like that. I think everything needs to be put on video. So if there is some type of dispute between the interviewer and the interviewee, well, all you gotta do is release the video and be like, here, this is exactly what was said. Now, can that be manipulated? Obviously, we've seen that in the media today, but at least it's video documented, instead of just saying, well, he said this or he said that. We have the video. We can go to it. Instant replay. We'll go to the video. But yeah, I think it was just a lot of misunderstanding, and obviously it had to be, because if Theo Porcher was right with what he said about Errol McLaren, do we really think? I mean, we've been around this sport long enough. Do we really think that the same week that interview came out, was published, and Errol McLaren was going to call Theo Porcher first, if he really felt that way towards Errol McLaren? Like I said, I think we've been in this long enough. I think we both know the answer to that question.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I don't think he would have picked up the phone if there was a lot of tension running high there. So just an interesting situation at Arrow McLaren. It's just kind of like, who's going to be the next domino. Like you said, when it comes to interviews and stuff, that's why when we, with Mid Ohio, there was a lot of the wind in the background, but every bit of audio that was played on this was 100% authentic. Me, kind of bumbling over my words and stuff. It happens. I'm human like everybody else, but you're not going to get any, real editing from me or anything like that. What I record is what you're going to get, unless it's like the testing and things like that of the microphone. But from start of the interview to the end of the interview, that is definitely something that I always stand behind. When I record, I'm recording. If you say something that you don't like, you probably shouldn't have said it. So, but to an extent, obviously, if there's something that got slipped out that a driver doesn't want said on a podcast or anything, maybe we cut that out. But I mean, they're the ones that are allowing us to walk up to them and stick a microphone in their face. If that's something they don't want broadcasted, we have to honor that. But if it's just a normal interview from start to finish, that's what you're going to get 100% from me 100% of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And just getting back to what you talked there when you opened up about McLaren and Porcher, and Porcher taking that phone call. If Arrow McLaren really thought that Theo Porcher said what he said and meant what he meant, is he really going to be the first phone call that Arrow makes? I mean, just think about this a little bit logically. There's no way that McLaren is going to let somebody talk like them or about their company like that, and then the first phone call they make is to that person. That's not going to happen. There's no way. But speaking of drivers that are going to be participating this weekend, there's one driver that is not going to be not only not participating this weekend, but going forward. And I think this was kind of the writing was on the wall after the spat, or maybe not spat, but social media fight. Maybe that might be the wrong term. But news did break this week here as well. And let me throw this up on screen again for everyone. Again, huge hat tip over to Marshall Pruitt, rather, of Racer, but the number 78, former driver of the number 78 Hucos Hollinger machine, Augustine Canapino. His time right now in the NTT IndyCar Series obviously is coming to an end. The Argentinian Tour Car champion, who impressed, who I thought did a great job in his seat time there in the number 78 Hucos Hollinger Chevrolet. Obviously decided him and the Juncos Hollinger Racing team came to an agreement this past week that Augustine will no longer drive that number 78 machine. Now, I don't think, Michael, and definitely correct me if I'm wrong here, but I don't think Juncos has named a replacement. So I don't know if this is going to get the same. I don't know if this is going to get the same treatment that the Dale Coyne Racing team gets, where you just you put a picture up on the dartboard, you throw a dart, and that's who's going to be driving what car this week. Because, like I said, I don't think Juncos has named a replacement. But I hope Augustine can first land on his feet, because I think he's very talented. I think it took him a little while to adapt to this style of racing, but maybe given the right circumstance, and Augustine gets comfortable, gets a little more drive time, and I think his skill set is definitely going to show. But it is unfortunate that Augustine wasn't able to complete his second full season with Juncos Hollinger Racing.
Yeah, I'll be the devil's advocate, I guess. Jump on the other side. It just feels like the Juncos is trying to build their organization up. They're putting a lot of money into the organization. They're trying to get better. I think they tried to do that with the alliance with Arrow McLaren that kind of fell through. Part of Augustine Canapino's fan base that kind of helped put a wedge there. I think the reason a driver hasn't been announced, and I'm hoping this is where the mindset of the team is that they're trying to lock in a driver for the remainder of this year and a driver for next year to kind of help build that organization. Romain Grosjean has been, clicking off some pretty decent finishes. Last time out, he finished 9th. Canapino was 26th. So it seems like throughout the season, Romain's kind of progressed a little bit better than the 78 car has. It will definitely be interesting to see who they put in the 78. Is it going to be the dartboard situation? I'm hoping it's more of a, hey, we've locked this driver down. He's going to be our driver for the remainder of this year and next year and going forward, hopefully. But right now, yes, no driver has been announced for that car for this weekend. I would honestly, personally like to see Connor Daly in the car. I think he would be a good fit there. Has that experience, can kind of bring in some new mindset there, but we'll see what happens.
Well, I do find it rather interesting, the first part of that, what you said about the Augustine Canapino fan social media, because it leads one to wonder. And again, I could be completely off and completely wrong on this, and if I am, please tell me. But do you think is it possible that the Canapino fan base on social media was the driving force behind the mutual breakup between Augustine and Juncos Hollinger Racing?
Yeah, I really do. I believe that was part of it. I also believe that performance was the other half. I mean, you can't continually perform poorly. I wouldn't say he performed horrible, but poorly on a consistent basis and continue to. I mean, we noticed. We talked to someone within the team, and I won't do much of that, but there's some sponsorship issues there. They didn't have much sponsorship for the Indy 500. It's hard to sell. So looking at that, you have to bring in someone that's marketable. And I'm not saying Augustine isn't marketable, but when you bring in a little bit of baggage with your fan base kind of, stirring the pot with other drivers and putting out those threads, that's kind of an issue that sponsorships are going to be like, we want to kind of help here, but at the same time, your social media, if something happens, is your social media, fan base going to turn on our company and start putting out, hateful stuff about our company? So it's hard right now with social media and those kind of things, because that is such a way for not only race teams, but a good way for branding to happen. So I do believe that was a big part of it. I don't feel like that was the whole reasoning behind it, but another name that I could see potentially getting put around, we've talked about it, and we've talked about him just recently, is Theo Pourchaire wants to be a part of the IndyCar series. It would kind of be ironic if he's the one that filled that seat going forward as well. So, yeah, I mean, I do believe that the social media and the poor performance is the most of the reasoning why he's left that team. Whether it was his decision, obviously they always come out and say it was a mutual decision, but I'm not mutually leaving a team if I'm making good money and things are going well. So it'd be interesting to see what happens going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one thing that may not play into Augustine's favor, and you just mentioned it there, is there going to be a team out there? Let's say he wants to stick around in IndyCar. Is there going to be a team out there? And I kind of, I can kind of equate this to people that are familiar with Major League Baseball and what's going on with Trevor Bauer. Is there going to be an IndyCar team out there that is going to be willing to take the risk and bring in a driver to the likes of Augustine Canapino, knowing how passionate his fan base is, particularly on social media? I think that's going to be something that a team owner is really, really going to have to weigh. Is am I willing to take the risk of, no matter how great this driver, no matter how great the owner thinks this driver is and what his capabilities could be, but are they willing to set aside the fan base that is so strong, so passionate for one driver, that if something doesn't go his way, or if he wrecks because another driver took him out, is his fan base going to attack on social media like they did with the aforementioned Theo Pourchaire? So it's really putting, I think, car owners in the NTT IndyCar series really in a bind, because if they think they see talent in this guy, which they may, I don't know what their evaluations are of him, they may, but do they want to risk the baggage that comes with Augustine Canapino, particularly in this day and age on social media?
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head there. It's going to be hard to find sponsors that are willing to come in and maybe get that ridicule. Will a sponsor be willing to put $2, $3, $4, $5 million into a team that a driver's fan base not only once but has repeatedly had some issues, whether their driver gets crashed? I'm all for fans being passionate about their driver, and oh my gosh, like that was a bonehead move. We kind of touched on it with the NASCAR situation before we come on. I could see fans, hey, that was a bad move. But when death threats get involved, when hostility gets involved, that's where we cross the line, and that goes for everyday life. We can dislike a situation, or in the moment, you can say, oh, I dislike that driver. But then you turn around the next week and you're like, oh, hey, I like this driver. He beat the driver that I don't like this week. So it's all the heat of the moment, but you can't come in with the heat of the moment with death threats and things like that. It's just not good. Now, like I said, when it comes to, hey, I don't like you, you'd wreck my favorite driver. Okay, that's fine. But when it's, other extracurriculars, that's where, a sponsor is going to have difficulties with that.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, and we can pick this up on the other side. But this is a great segue, Michael, talking about sponsors, and we have a couple here on the Push to Pass podcast that we definitely want to send shout outs to, because obviously without them, some of the things that we're able to do just wouldn't be possible. First and foremost, huge thank you to Always Ready 1776. Now, keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that since the inception of the Push to Pass podcast, both of these sponsors have stood by us from day one. So definitely, if you're looking for a company or a product that shows loyalty, well, you've come to the right place. But like I said, Always Ready 1776, for people that are patriotic like myself and Michael. If you're looking for patriotic apparel, headwear, and more, definitely go check out the selection over at Always Ready 1776. And you can find them on the World Wide Web at alwaysready1776.com. And if you do choose to purchase something online, make sure you use that promo code that you see up on your screen, Push to Pass, for 10% off of your order. That is Always Ready 1776.com. And then also too, if you are in the Indianapolis area and you're looking to upgrade your home design or remodeling needs, remember, it's Gettum Associates, and you can find them as well on the World Wide Web. And I don't know if people even say that anymore, but you can find them at Gettum.com. And also, as well, if you use their promo code that you see down there at the bottom of the screen, Push to Pass, you will get $250 off any design service. So huge thank you both, and loyalty and all of that other accolades that come with both Always Ready 1776 and Gettum Associates. So getting back to talking IndyCar, that's what we're here for. That's what we love to do. A couple more news items before we get to Mike to talk about the betting aspect of the Bommarito Automotive Group 500 this weekend. Then also too, the official weatherman of the Push to Pass podcast, IndyCar Weather, is going to be joining us to tell us how picture perfect the forecast is going to be this weekend for Madison, Illinois, and the Worldwide Technology Raceway. But some more news, Michael, to get to. A couple more out that IndyCar veteran Yuri Veps is going to be making his return to Portland for Ray Hall Letterman Landing and Racing. I know you touched on them earlier. It could be possible a destination for Alexander Rossi at season's end. But again, like I said, Yuri Vips is back to showcase his skills again with the Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan Racing team in 2025. Actually, if you go over to the Push to Pass podcast website, there is a story up there that was put up the day that this news was announced. We'll go through that real quick. There, I guess I need to share it for everyone to see it. There we go. There is the Push to Pass website. You can find articles by myself. Michael has some on there as well. Josh, we're trying to get into that as well. But like I said, Yuri Vips has found his way back into the NTT IndyCar Series per a news release on their website and social media accounts that day. Vips will be added to the Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan Racing stable to drive the number 75 Amanda Honda when the series heads west, like I said, to Portland for the BitNile.com Grand Prix of Portland starting Friday, August 23rd. Vips, if you remember, is no stranger to the NTT IndyCar Series. He did make his 2023, again at Portland for Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing, where he finished 18th, along with racing at Laguna Seca the following weekend, and he finished 24th. Quote from Vips himself: he is grateful to the team for giving him the opportunity. He's been working closely with Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing on their simulator program, and it's been over a year since he has been in the car, but he is confident that the experience gained last year at Portland and Laguna Seca will help him get up to speed quickly. And then another quote from co-owner of Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing, Bobby Rahal. We're pleased to be able to run Yuri in Portland for a number of reasons. One, he showed at both Portland and Laguna Seca last year that he'll certainly have the pace to feature in any event that he runs with Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing. And he has done a lot of work for us in the simulator this year. So Yuri Veps, congratulations to him to be able to get back into the NTT IndyCar series and to get back with Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing. I know that's somebody, Michael, that you're keeping your eye on, as you noted, for a landing spot potentially for Alexander Rossi. But if I remember correctly, on our way to Mid Ohio this year, I think this was a name that I brought up that I said definitely could be closely related to Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing. And look what happens just a few weeks later. He's going to be racing for them in Portland.
Yeah, I think this is a driver that could definitely take over that 45 car. He's had a great career in Formula 4, Formula 2. So he did have a few incidents over there, but that's in the past now. He's worked alongside in Formula 4 Marcus Armstrong, so another current NTT IndyCar driver. He's putting in the work, it sounds like, especially on the simulator, and really worked to help Rahal Letterman Lanigan with the hybrid system. So it'll be interesting to see how he does at Portland. I don't remember where he finished there last year, but I'm sure we could figure that out somewhat quickly. So I feel that he could. He has the potential. I mean, he's still young, working hard to make a name for himself, and I think if he can get the sponsorship, he will definitely be doing pretty well. Looks like last year he finished 18th at Portland, 24th at Laguna Seca. So see if he can improve on that this year, and we'll see. I think, like I said, I think he'll do decent. It's hard to get in one of these cars and be expected to perform at a high level. We talked about that with Kyle Larson. I mean, it's hard to get in one of these race cars and just be like right on cue and be able to compete with these guys that do it week in and week out. It's very competitive. You hear Will Power talk about that. You hear Pato Award talk about that. Alex Palou, those guys that do this every single week, they know how hard it is, the work you have to put in. So I expect him to finish around the top 20. If he does better than that, I mean, it would be a good accomplishment for him. Those cars have been, all the Rahal Letterman Lanigan cars are pretty quick on the road courses. I think a lot of that comes from the help from Yuri in the simulator and probably Christian Lundgaard. So I think he's on track to maybe get that ride. It'll be interesting to see.
So again, we'll play hypothetical here for a minute because I know we're getting close to silly season, or it seems like that. There's no indication that Graham Rahal is ready to give up the number 15 car, and we know that there's the number 45. Obviously, the current Christian Lundgaard car is Christian Lundgaard car. Try saying that 5 times fast. Is going to be open at season's end. And if I just remember correctly, I think it was yesterday that I seen that the number 30 for um, Pietro Fittipaldi just got a extension with 5 Hour Energy. So I don't know if that's for this year or going into next year. So if Graham Rahal is going to stay in the 15 and Pietro Fittipaldi is going to stay in the 30, and if you think that Yuri Veps may be debuting in the 45 for the remainder of this year, and that's going to be his ride going into next year. Obviously, Alexander Rossi is going to be out at Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing if that's what they decide to go to for their driver lineup next year. And we did see that obviously, AJ Foyt is out on Alexander Rossi, and we'll get into that article here shortly. So don't you think his list, and I know we keep coming back to this, but the drivers that are going to be free agents that are going to be looking for rides next year are definitely going to be the seats are going to be slim pickings, I think, to say the least, Michael.
The competitive ones are definitely going to be pretty full up. I'm just trying to confirm the Fittipaldi 5 Hour Energy. It's just a primary sponsorship for the Nashville season finale race. There's no indication on how long his contract with Rahal Letterman Lanigan was when he signed. So I'm not sure if it's a year-to-year deal. I know he is the reserve driver for the Haas F1 team. I don't think that plays a big part in what he does here, really, to be honest with you. I believe Haas has both drivers filled for next year in the Formula One season. So I don't think that's really an option for him. So if he sticks out with the 30, then yes, I agree. I don't think Rahal Letterman Lanigan's even in talks to go to 4 cars. So yeah, I think you're right. If Vips does get that ride, and we talked about, you brought it up all the way to Mid Ohio. You talked about how Rahal really likes that loyalty, and Vips seems to be one of those loyal drivers that has kind of come in and been that reserve driver role basically. So I mean, this could be his option. If we can find the right sponsorship for him, he could slip right into the 45 car. It still really hasn't been announced if Hy-Vee is actually going with Lundgaard or if they're sticking with Rahal Letterman Lanigan. So that's also kind of that silly season aspect that has been kind of floated around there. So yeah, the competitive seats are definitely going quick. So someone at Rossi's camp needs to get pen to paper pretty quick. And maybe they already have. They're just waiting on the right time to announce it. So, I mean, it's going to get interesting for sure, I think.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, and I think there's definitely more to come here as the season unfolds and starts to wind down a little bit. But we'll step away from news for a minute. I do see that our betting expert here is joined us. I know it's been a few weeks since we've been able to talk to Mike. I know he's been hard at work hitting the Olympic bets, and I'm sure he made a boatload of money there. But Mike, again, huge thank you for joining us. Finally back to racing on the NTT IndyCar circuit. Again, first and foremost, I know everybody's sitting on pins and needles to know how well you did with your Olympic bets.
It's funny you should say that. Did pretty good with the swimming bets. So made some money there, ready to spend that on IndyCar now that we get this season fired back up. It's funny. A lot of people have no clue that IndyCar is still going on. Hopefully the sports books remember. But I get why they took the little Olympic break. But yeah, made a little money on swimming. I don't know anything really about track and field. So kind of been on a lull and just kind of waiting and ready to go here. So excited to finally hopefully have a race to bet on Saturday night. And nothing better than a Saturday night race where you can pregame a little bit and get ready and get fired up and get ready to fire away make some money Saturday night.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I opened up and it's in the first time we talked about this, how much I enjoy seeing the Indy cars under the lights. I definitely can't wait for it. I wish IndyCar would add more night races. Hopefully that's something that they decide to do later on down the road, because I think some of the liveries that those cars can come out with under those lights, and I think they would just it would look amazing, I think. But hopefully IndyCar takes that into consideration. And second of all, I had no idea that you were betting on Olympic events. First of all, I didn't know you could bet on Olympic events. That's news to me. I didn't know that, but congratulations on the swimming. I can't imagine how hard that is betting on Olympic events. You may know one or two athletes, but you don't know all of them that are participating in one sport or the other.
Yeah, it's just like anything else. It's just like betting IndyCar. You dive in, you do look at some stats, you look at some information, and then you talk to some people in the know. You follow some of the right people on Twitter that know what they're talking about and know who the players are. And then when all else fails, you just bet the people from China and table tennis, and you just count your money. Piece of cake.
Great philosophy right there. See, that's how everybody can load up and buy a pool house in Malibu. Is just bet on the Chinese and table tennis, and you're going to make millions. But anywho, definitely glad to get back to racing, Mike. Like I said, this weekend we are in. Not we, but the NTT IndyCar Series is at Worldwide Technology Raceway, right outside of St. Louis for the Bommarito Automotive Group 500. We know a few players that have had great track records here previously. We talked about him earlier, Joseph Newgarden, obviously, the oval racer that he has become, back-to-back Indianapolis 500 champion, dominates at Iowa, dominates at Texas. So that's somebody I think to keep an eye out for. And then Michael pointed out earlier, and we went through his statistics to back it up, but Pato O'Ward, somebody else that is becoming a great oval racer as well. I figured those probably two you're looking at, but who else are you adding to your list for this weekend?
There you go. You guys don't need me. That's the list, right? I came here with two names. It's O'Ward and Newgarden. It's short oval season. Those are the guys we bet, and I would add McLaughlin. I think has been pretty impressive on short ovals, so he's on the radar. And then if you had to step outside of the Team Penske, then maybe Herta's been pretty fast at this track as well. So if they lay a big number on a Herta, I'm only betting Herta if he's double digits, just because he's jinxed. He doesn't win. So it has to be worth my while. But hopefully the sportsbooks screw up and they put Palou as the favorite. He shouldn't be. Palou's no good. He's no good at ovals. We know that. I mean, he'll probably finish fifth and collect his points and win his championship. But yeah, I mean, those are the players you want to bet on. Newgarden, you want to bet on Pato, and you probably want to bet it. You probably want to bet at least half of the units you were planning to bet before qualifying, because the books might not repost numbers. We've been learning that the hard way. So you want to get your bets in, but yeah, those are the two. And then actually, you do kind of hope for them not to qualify on the pole, maybe qualify somewhere in the 5 to 10 range, because it doesn't really matter that much on a short oval. They'll work their way right up if they're the fastest car. So, again, the hybrids still, I have written down from last year, Dixon screwed me with fuel save. I feel like I have that written down all over the place, but I think the hybrid's gonna stop that. So I think Dixon's reign of fuel save might come to an end based on some of this new technology, but we'll have to wait and see. Pato should have won last year. And like I said, Dixon just did what Dixon, he stole a couple races. So yeah, I think Joseph, Pato, and then like I said, if you see double digits on Herta, maybe something in the 8-9 to 1 range on McLaughlin. Whenever we get odds, those are the ones I want to bet. So as soon as I see odds, I'll tweet them out, and we'll go from there. It's all about making money in sports betting. Is about numbers sometimes, or all time.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, just curious, I know you mentioned with Worldwide Technology Raceway being a short track, kind of set up the same way that Iowa is. Is there anything, anything you can take away from what happened with in Iowa with the hybrid and convert that to what we may see this weekend at Worldwide Technology Raceway?
Iowa got screwed up by the lanes, right? Like there was no passing because they couldn't go high. I think that had to do with the tire and the track, not necessarily the hybrid. I mean, that's at least my guess. So it's just like I said with Olympic swimming, like we just have to pay attention. So see what the drivers say on practice on Friday. We knew going in Iowa, like they tell us, like enough people tell enough people that are on site to say like, hey, you can't pass here. So if that's the case, then yeah, we do want to hammer whoever gets that pole potentially, especially if it's one of the big guys. Because we knew at Iowa right away that it was going to be, hey, the guys up front were basically winning this race because nobody could pass. So pay attention to what the drivers say on Friday. Same thing, pay attention to what they say about the hybrid. And yeah, there's a little bit more risk involved. Not knowing these things, it's always an unknown, but that's also where you can make a bunch of money. So, I think it's still the same players. The Penske cars are going to be fast in this track. And then, Pato's the one other guy. And then, I don't particularly think Ganassi's always too fast on these short ovals. So, my money will be on the Penske cars. And of course, Pato will have a little bit of cash coming his way from me for sure.
Mike, good stuff as always. So definitely looking for Newgarden and Pato for obviously is the front runners, but I'll pay attention to what, like you said, to what they're saying after that practice and things of that nature. I don't know if you and Tony you've decided yet or not to have a space before Saturday night's race, but if you do choose to do so, for people that may not have listened before, where can they find that at?
Just follow us on Twitter. We haven't talked about that, so no clue. I'll be on a golf trip this weekend, so I will be ready to fire some irresponsible bets off after drinking on the course all day and ready to watch Saturday night. So maybe we'll have a spaces. It'll be an interesting one if I show up to that. So we'll find out. So keep an eye on Twitter. I'll talk to Tony and I'll shoot him a text if he wants to do something. I don't know if he's going to the track or not, but. Yeah, I mean, if not, I'll tweet out everything that I'm betting. As always, betting card will come out. Really, nowadays, betting card comes out whenever odds come out, which is not often. So unfortunately, I feel like we've gone downhill since the 500 with our odds offerings. But you never know. The sports books, may get spicy and post a bunch of stuff, and we can see some top threes and some matchups and some other things, which is where I'd like to make most of my bets. But I guarantee you hopefully there'll be some odds and there'll be something to bet, and I'll post it.
Mike, good stuff as always. Can't wait to see what you got going this weekend. Don't drink too many adult beverages that you go overboard betting this weekend. I can see you putting a bet in for, I don't know, maybe David Malukas or something, but yeah, definitely don't go overboard and shoot under par, and we'll see what happens Saturday night.
All right, man. Have a good one.
Good stuff there, as always, from Mike. Definitely check him out there on social media. As you see his X, formerly known as Twitter, going by the screen there. Definitely, if you're interested in the betting aspect of IndyCar and you want to get a little skin in the game, as they like to say, definitely check out the advice and knowledge that not only he, but as he mentioned, Tony Donahue, friend of the show, brings to the betting aspect of IndyCar as well. Michael, before we're joined by the official weatherman of the Push to Pass podcast, we do have one more piece of news to go over, and this was I think this is a little bit of a stunner today when you tweeted this to me earlier today. I did not see this coming, but for people that have not seen it yet, or mentioned David Malukas, who I just mentioned there, that Michael's going to put some money on this weekend after he had. David Malukas has now signed a multi-year contract with AJ Foyt. So this really makes one wonder about a particular driver, and I'll get into this here shortly. But Malukas, like I said, currently with Meyer Shank Racing. Obviously, that's going to come to a end at season's end. Is now going to join AJ Foyt Racing after signing a multi-year deal today. Now, the question becomes, Michael, is David Malukas going to occupy the number 14 Chevrolet, which is currently driven, as you see there, by Santino Ferrucci, or is he going to occupy the number 41 machine driven by, you interviewed him at Mid-Ohio, Stingray Robb? Which one of these two drivers, the interesting thing is going to be which one of these two are going to be out of a seat at the end of the year. Now, and again, AJ Foyt can run his operation however he wants to, obviously. But I think if Derek Vance was the operations manager of AJ Foyt Racing, well, first and foremost, somebody made a mistake by allowing him that position. Let's get that out to the forefront first. But if I'm the operating manager of AJ Foyt Racing, I am keeping Santino Ferrucci in the 14 and putting David Malukas in the 41 machine and rolling with it, because you have two young, talented drivers that would be leading the AJ Foyt Racing Group into the 21st century. Michael, right or wrong?
Unfortunately, I think you're absolutely right. I am a big Stingray Robb fan. I love everything he stands for. I love his faith. I talked to him quite a bit about that at Mid-Ohio. The performance hasn't been there. Unfortunately, nice guys that don't perform don't make it in professional sports. Let's just be honest. It doesn't care if it's IndyCar, NASCAR, MLB, NFL. Like, you don't perform, you don't move up. And I feel like this, Stingray hasn't had the greatest experience in the IndyCar series. Let's be honest. He got stuck out at Dale Coyne Racing his first year, and we've seen how that goes for just about everybody. He comes to AJ Foyt Racing, and I still don't understand the whole mentality behind AJ Foyt Racing, where there's two locations. They're building cars in Texas. They're building cars, in Indiana. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And it always seems that the 14, no matter who's driven it over the past decade, it always seems like the 14 is just a little bit better. The only outlier year you could say would have been a few years ago. I believe that's the car that Kirkwood drove. Did he drive the 41? I believe he drove the 41. And that was the outlier year where that car was just, it was up there with the 14. Now, David Malukas has proved a lot at Dale Coyne Racing, and he's also proven a lot in his short time at Meyer Shank Racing. If he goes over to AJ Foyt and has about the same experience that Stingray Robb's had this year, I think then we have to start questioning AJ Foyt and not so much, the drivers. Now, I'm not giving a lot of that on top of the whole, spectrum, because I want to see what Malukas can do. You talk about, you joked with Mike about, putting money on him. I wouldn't be so sure that he doesn't compete close to the front. He's had 2 races there. His average finish is 2.5. He finished second and third in a Dale Coyne Racing car. So he has the potential to run well at Gateway. I even wrote about that in the article about David Malukas. So, yeah, I would put a couple, you got $10, you want to, maybe, not get a good return on. I mean, it's something that you could get a great return on. So I would put a little bit of money there. But yes, when I seen this, I was like, what? Like, and it wonders what AJ Foyt offered, And was Meyer Shank not offering to continue the contract for next year? Have they already got their driver locked up? Has a signature already been put on a contract? And this is what I talked about earlier when we talked about Rossi. Is this Rossi's landing spot? Because the news of, Maluk, like Rossi's a high caliber driver. He hasn't had a lot of great success in the IndyCar series that I think a lot of people would have hoped, especially coming in winning the Indy 500 in his rookie year. He had a lot of hype behind him. He went to Andretti after that year and just kind of never really, got into victory lane as much as I know he would have hoped as well. But is this, where he's going to land? It's a potential, and I think it's a higher likelihood that this is a potential now that Malukas has kind of brought his news out. Here in a couple of weeks, will we hear news of who's going to fill the 66? I would say we'll probably find out rather soon who's going to fill that void in the 66.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And we'll hold that thought here for a minute. That's how we'll finish today's show. But before we do that, our official weatherman of the Push to Pass podcast is joining us. IndyCar, and definitely go check him out on social media if you are looking for what the forecast is going. Again, definitely looks picture perfect there to say the least. Other man, what you got for us?
Yeah, hey guys, I guess we're finally back at it here. So it does look pretty good overall. I'd say, we're looking at another warm one at least this weekend with temperatures in the upper 80s to 90. But we've seen worse before, so we'll just have to deal with the temperatures. But at least dry, right? So that's the good news. So it looks like heat is really building back into the St. Louis area this week through about midweek and then topping out around Thursday. And then we get a frontal system kind of coming through on Thursday. And I'm pretty confident we'll see some rain on Thursday then as that front moves through. And in the forecast, I've got some lingering activity lasting into Friday morning. Now, looking at some of the data, I put this out yesterday, looking at some of the data through today, I do think it's probably actually trending to maybe end more into Thursday evening. So again, it looks pretty good for a favorable Friday and into Saturday at this point. Temperature wise, Thursday, I think you're looking at low 90s. And then as that front comes through, we'll get a little bit of a break to the temps as they decrease through the weekend. So Friday's just a little bit cooler, 89, 90 degrees in there. And then as we go into Saturday, I've got 87 degrees as the forecast high. But if we can get enough of those afternoon clouds building in, we might even save a couple degrees there, maybe get down into the mid 80s. Talking a little bit about humidity. Again, same story, right? Just pre-front, very moist, very humid environment. It's going to feel pretty oppressive out there on Thursday. But then again, at least what the good news is that system comes through, drier air will begin to circulate into the area. So it's still going to feel a little bit uncomfortable on Friday even with the heat index values in the low 90s. And then it gets a little better on Saturday. But, St. Louis really doesn't get into that true relief with some really dry air probably next week into Monday and Tuesday. But it does at least get a little bit better to the conditions that we're going to be looking at Wednesday and the Thursday earlier this week. So bottom line, trending dry for now. A little bit warmer race conditions than we saw last year. It's probably a little closer to the 2022 race temps. And that's it for the forecast this week.
Definitely like what we're looking at there. And obviously not as much on Friday with the chance of storms and showers, but definitely love to see on Saturday, if by chance that this weather does change a little bit or a lot for that matter, and you have to update your forecast between now and Friday or Saturday. Where can people find that at if it has to be updated?
Yeah, so you guys can find me on Twitter or X now at IndyCar_. WX man, where WX is an abbreviation for weather. So IndyCar Weatherman, if you search that up, I'm sure it'll come up. And then I'm also on Threads with the same handle.
Good stuff as always. Definitely love the forecast that you got for us this weekend. But again, ladies and gentlemen, just in case it's change, go check out that X account or Threads as well. Weatherman, as always, thank you for joining us, and we'll talk again in a few weeks.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too. Good stuff as always from him. Definitely go check him out as we are hitting the home stretch. And if you're just joining us, you've missed a lot. We've reviewed the news that we've gotten since we've been on this 2-week hiatus. We also previewed the upcoming Bommarito Automotive Group. Sure, you're prepared. Don't want to tune in to the race on Sunday because it's not going to happen. Saturday night, 6 p.m. USA Network is the place to go. And we were just talking about the last bit of news that we got today with David Malukas now signing a multi-year contract with AJ Foyt Racing. And like I said, I was just as surprised as Michael was when he sent me this news clip earlier. But again, my first thought was you got lock up Santino Ferrucci. What a team that you could have, two young, hungry drivers with Santino Ferrucci. We've seen what he's done at the Indianapolis 500 the last couple of years, and David Malukas. I think his skill set is just touching the surface. I don't think we fully know what David Malukas has to offer until he's able to get a full season under his belt. We thought this year was going to be the year that he break out, but obviously, other plans kind of derailed that a little bit. But I think Stingray Robb. I just have a funny feeling that this industry is driven by results, and that was something we talked about earlier. If you missed it with Augustine Canapino. And results come with sponsorships. And with Stingray Robb, he may be a nice guy, a very nice guy, but obviously being nice doesn't win races. And this is a results-driven game, results-driven sport. And it would not surprise me, Michael, to see Stingray Robb be the odd man out over at AJ Foyt Racing when it's all said and done. Or, AJ Foyt could surprise us and have a third car in the wings that we don't know anything about. That remains to be seen. I highly doubt that that's the case, but I wouldn't put it past him. But unfortunately, like I said, I think at the end of the day, Stingray Robb is definitely going to be the odd man out, and feel sorry for if that happens to be the case. We don't know, but if that does happen, definitely feel for him and his family, who we've had the opportunity to interview and meet, both of us, and definitely nice people, great people. But like I said, this is a results-driven sport, and sometimes if you can't get it done on the track, the team owner is definitely going to find somebody that can.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. I mean, I'm trying to make a list of the cars that are open, looking at, 2024 or 2025. My gosh, 2024 is almost over. 2025, I've got 5 or 6 that don't have drivers right now. I mean, the Dale Coyne cars, the 78, the 45, and the 66. Is there any that you can think of off the top of your head that don't have drivers moving forward?
I think you got the list pretty well knocked out there. Definitely something I want to we'll take a look at, obviously, for next week. Maybe that's something that a topic we can get into. But yeah, definitely want to know what cars are going to have open seats next year, obviously, for sure. Michael, anything else that you want to add here before we cross the start finish line and the checker flag falls on another show or another episode, rather?
Yeah, one more
the Push
kind
to
of
Pass podcast.
one more newsworthy item that kind of come out over the break. I guess it was just right before the break. The the new streaming service that Fox and Warner Brothers Discovery is launching with ESPN. That's supposed to launch later this fall, I guess, fall, winter, whenever we want to classify it. There's been a lot of discussion about the cost of that network or streaming app or service, whatever. It's $42.99 a month, and I know this relates big to the IndyCar series because most people are used to paying $6 a month for Peacock. Well, you want a better TV deal, and we have one. I'm not discrediting the TV deal. The TV deal is great, but for the people that don't have bunny ears, you may want to go buy a set of bunny ears and direct them the right way, get your tinfoil. And so you can watch Fox, and if, I don't even know, do they have DVRs that you can actually just buy anymore to DVR at home? You may want to try and find some way to record. Maybe we'll have to pull out the VCR and get some tapes to record. But $42.99 a month, that's a steep price to pay for streaming. There would have to be a ton of stuff, and I'll have to look at and see what's all going to be offered, because that's a steep price for a streaming platform. I don't care how much sports they offer. If they offer every single sports, that I watch, maybe if I could cut a few other streaming services, but that's quite a bit of money.
Yeah, I don't know who's going to do that, but hats off to you if you can budget that in your budget. Hats off to you. I can tell you this guy can't, and I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. But hopefully, Fox does live up to their offer, or to their end of the bargain, so to say, and they put every IndyCar race on network TV. Because if they do, I'm perfectly fine with that, and you can take your $42 a month streaming service and stick it up your wallet, because I'm not going to need that, obviously. But good stuff as always. Again, Michael, thanks as always, like I said, for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us on a weekly basis. All three of us, all this three cast of characters, will be back next week to discuss, review, and recap what we're going to see this weekend at Worldwide Technology Raceway and the Bommarito Automotive Group 500. So for myself and Michael and Josh, who isn't here this evening, and everyone else that makes up the Push to Pass podcast, we will be back in 1 week's time to break down what was the Bommarito Automotive Group 500 from the Worldwide Technology Raceway. So until then, so long, everybody.